enlightening your minds and touching your hearts about the arts in history and literature.
Arts.
History. Literature.
So first, what is an art? Art helps make that happen by making sure that identities and cultures are given due recognition around the world. This is why we at The Artist believe that art is a form of creative human expression, a way of enriching the human experience. The purpose of works of art may be communicate ideas, such as politically, spiritually, or philosophically motivated art, to create sense of beauty, to explore the nature of perception, for pleasure, or to generate strong emotions.
So, what is the connection of arts in history? The history of arts focuses on objects made by humans in visual form for aesthetic purposes. Visual art can be classified in diverse ways, such as separating fine arts from applied arts, inclusively focusing on human creativity, or focusing on different media such as architecture, sculpture, painting, film, photography, and graphic arts. In recent years, technological advances have led to video art, computer art, performance art, animation, television, and video games. The history of art is often told as a chronology of masterpieces created during each civilization. It can thus be framed as a story of high culture, epitomized by the wonders of the world. On the other hand, vernacular art expresses can also be integrated into art historical narratives, referred to as folk arts or craft. The more closely that an art historian engages with these latter forms of low culture, the more likely it is that they will identify their work as examining visual culture or material culture, or as contributing to fields related to art history, such as anthropology or archaeology. In the latter cases, art objects may be referred to as archaeological artifacts. Art history is the study of objects of art in their historical development and stylistic context, that is, genre, design, format, and style. The study includes painting, sculpture, architecture, ceramics, furniture, and other decorative objects. Art history is the history of different groups of people and their culture represented throughout their artwork. Art historians compare different time periods in art history, such as comparison to medieval art to Renaissance art. This history of culture is shown in their artwork in different forms. Art can be shown by attire, architecture, religion, sports, or more visual pieces of art such as paintings, drawings, and sculptures. As a term, art history encompasses several methods of studying the visual arts, in common usage referring to works of art and architecture. Aspects of this discipline overlap. As the art historian Ernst Gombrich once observed, the field of history is much like Caesar's Gaul, divided in three parts in habitation by three different, though not necessarily hostile tribes. 1. The connoisseurs, 2. The critics, and 3. The academic art historians. As a discipline, art history is distinguished from art criticism, which is connected with establishing a relative artistic value upon individual works with respect to others of comparable style, or sanctioning an entire style or movement, and art theory or philosophy of art, which is concerned with the fundamental nature of art. One branch of this area of study is aesthetic, which includes investigating the enigma of the sublime and determining the essence of beauty. Technically, art history is not these things, because the art historian uses historical method to answer the questions. How did the artist come to create the work? Who were the patrons? Who were his or her teachers? Who was the audience? Who was his or her disciples? What historical forces shaped the artist? And how did he or she and the creation in turn affect the course of artistic, political, and social events? It is, however, questionable whether many questions of this kind can be answered satisfactorily without also considering basic questions about the nature of art. The current disciplinary gap between art history and the philosophy of art aesthetics often hinders this inquiry. Art history is not only a biological endeavor. Art historians often root their studies in the scrutiny of individual objects. Thus, they attempt to answer in historically specific ways questions such as what are key features of this style? What meaning did this object convey? How does it function visually? Did the artist meet their goals well? What symbols are involved? And does it function discursively? The historical backbone of the discipline is a celebratory chronology of beautiful creations commissioned by public or religious bodies or wealthy individuals in Western Europe. Such a canon remains prominent, as indicated by the selection of objects present in art history textbook. Nonetheless, since the 20th century, there has been an effort to redefine this discipline to be more inclusive of non-Western art made by women, and vernacular creativity.
How is art is related to literature?
While can stand alone as a form of art, it is also closely related to other art forms. Music is similar to poetry in pattern and rhythm. It can also reflect the same social concerns as literature and often represent a time in history. Literature is also connected to visual art, such as photography and movies.
At this point, why literature is an art?
The art of literature is not reducible to the words on the page. They are there because of the craft of writing. As an art, literature is the organization of words to give pleasure. Through them, it elevates and transforms experience. Through them, it functions in the society as a continuing symbolic criticism of values.
So at this point of time, we will know what is the relationship between the art, history, and literature. As art affects our lives, with the art that we are surrounded by, whether it's a painting, music, or even videos, can have a huge impact on our mood and emotions. All kinds of art can affect our mood in a positive way, making us feel happier, calmer, or even inspired to do something. Wherever you go, art is evident. Art influences society by changing opinions, instilling values, and translating experiences across space and time. Research has shown art affects the fundamental sense of self. Art preserves what fact-based historical records cannot, how it felt to exist in a particular place at a particular time. The differences of art, history, and literature. Art can be defined as the expression of creative skill in a visual form. On the other hand, literature refers to art, history, and literature is that while art generally tends to be visual and auditory, literature and history are not. It is based on text. Literature, most generically, is any body of written works. More restrictively, literature refers to the writing considered to be an art form or any single writing deemed to have artistic or intellectual value, often due to deploying language in ways that differ from ordinary usage. A definition of art history. Art history doesn't consist in simply listing all the art movements and placing them on a timeline. It is the study of objects of art considered within their time period. Art historians analyze visual arts, meaning just like painting, sculpture, and architecture, at the time they were created.